What are you in the 1% of? If I shake my head in a certain way, I can give myself an orgasm. Never met anyone who can do that. I am one of only 1,300 board-certified sexual assault nurse examiners for the adult and adolescent population in the world. I think it's 2%, but I'm a ginger. I'm naturally ambidextrous. Apparently that's something only 1% of people naturally are. I can use both right and left hands ably for any task. For example, I often switch which hand I write with based on how I'm sitting. It's worth noting _natural _ambidexterity is not the same as _learned or _acquired ambidexterity. For example, left-handed people often have to use things designed for right-handed people but otherwise are left-handed. I'm of the 0.002% of people with osteoporosis. This freaked the shit out of me because when I was diagnosed the first thing the doctor said was, "Wow, I've never seen this in anything but textbooks before." I've represented my country in the Paralympic Games. I have a B blood type. Less than 1% of the world's population have it. Not me but my dad. He was born with a backwards heart and didn't find out till his heart attack a few years ago, and it actually saved his life. His doctor later told him that after being a doctor for over 30 years he'd never seen someone with a backwards heart and that apparently 1% of people on the planet have it. I am diagnosed with visual snow syndrome. Basically seeing through static. It may not be rare as thought, but I am one of very few people to be formally diagnosed. Edit. 1. No, this isn't normal, and sorry to all the people who found out they had VVS through my stupid Reddit comment. Lol. 2. Lots of PPL asked how I was diagnosed. I was at an eye specialist for an unrelated reason and he asked if I had any other concerns. I described my sight to him and he said that's probably VVS. He referred me to a neurologist and she diagnosed me. 3. I don't remember not seeing flickering dots. I've never done psychedelics. I was unaware drugs could worsen or cause it. Thanks for the warnings though. Definitely won't be doing psychedelics now, haha. I have a double gene mutation that makes me highly resistant or even immune to the HIV virus. Far less than 1% of people make their living creating crossword puzzles. I've also written 5 novels, 3 of which were published. Hyperhidrosis. Excessively sweaty armpits for no reason. I could be sitting there completely at ease and sweat rolls down my sides from my pits. I have found a product to fix the issue, however I know no one else who has the same issue personally. Cancer survivor. Think that's 5%. I had it 3 fucking times. I have situs inversus. This link: I went to the hospital a few years ago for something else and they told me I had this rare condition. All my organs are on the opposite side that they normally would be. It doesn't affect me in any way, just a cool switcheroo. Not as interesting or cool as others, but I'm in the 1% of the population that has no immunity to rubella even though I've been vaccinated for it several times. Apparently some people's bodies don't take to some vaccinations. Fine with everything else like mumps, measles, etc., it's just the rubella. I've also got type 2 Duane's syndrome in my right eye. Duane's being an uncommon eye condition anyway, right eye being least common to have it in type 2, the least common of its type out of the 3 types. Won the Duane's lottery with that one. I fell off a 100-foot cliff and landed head first on rocks. Broke my neck and back. Smashed up a lot of my body. Had to travel about a mile to find help immediately after the fall. Doctor said I caused more damage by trying to walk for help, but would have bled out if I stayed where I fell. 15 months later, I am powerlifting and ran a half marathon. Should not be alive, much less be able to walk. Edit. How? Camping on a mountain. Found a spot to lay down and observe the stars. Had to pee, stepped into woods, lost my footing. Geronimo. Injuries: head was scalped. Huge piece of flesh was just hanging off my head. Must have been a sight to the folks whose door I knocked on in the middle of the night for help. Neck was broken and had to wear an immobilizing neck brace for many months 24/7, as they were concerned surgery may cause more damage. Initially I had a loss of sensation in my hands. Multiple vertebrae were broken, one had broken into over a dozen pieces. The neurosurgeon figures it impact my body folded in half, causing that one to essentially explode. I had to have spinal fusion and relearn how to walk after. Multiple ribs broken. Recovery: at first I essentially lived in one of those geriatric chairs that lift you up to stand. I could barely get around with a walker. Sitting on the toilet was the most excruciating thing. At some point it turned into laxative use and stand in the shower. I couldn't bend or care for myself much in any way. Some of my friends think that being a Marine made me tough enough to survive this, but I credit an inherent stubbornness to never give up. I constantly pushed through the pain to get myself to the next level. From walker, to cane, to walking sticks. The neurosurgeon told me the best thing I could do for physical therapy was walk, so boy did I. At first I could barely make it to the end of the block and back, then a quarter mile, then on and on. Every hard effort day required a day or two of sitting in the chair and suffering through the pain. Got off meds the moment that I could stand to. 5 months after the accident I got on a treadmill and tried to run. The impacts were excruciating, but I kept coming back for more and more. At 10 months I was able to race in a 5K on Memorial Day in honor of a fallen veteran. I raced my heart out and was able to run it in less than 30 minutes. I immediately began half-marathon training and at 14 months was able to finish at about 2 hours and 40 minutes. Started back to lifting serious weights at about 11 months and here I am in month 16 about to become a member of the 1,000-pound club. Bench press, deadlift, and squat all totaling 1,000 pounds. I still deal with pain regularly and I have a lot of discomfort that makes sleep challenging. I've still got a couple of months until the bones reached 100% of their healing potential. It's been quite a journey. Never give up, my friends. So apparently my left eye is 32 millimeters. The average size is 21 to 27 millimeters. My eye doctor said it was neat. I survived childhood cancer. I think just getting it at all is pretty rare. Everyone is born with a space in the base of your skull. I have an enlarged space. The doctor called it an enlarged asterisk cisterna magna. Having it isn't what makes me part of the 1%, it's the fact that it hasn't caused me any trouble or neurological issues that puts me there. It was only found when I had an MRI for migraines. Edit. Totally got the wrong wording. I'm sorry for misleading anyone, that came on the back of flu meds and little sleep. I have stress-induced migraines and hormonal ones too. Nothing to do with the lack of brain function, that just makes me a little dull. I'm one of only 200 deaf pilots in the world and one of only 4, that are commonly known of, in the world with commercial and instrument training. I'm also one of the only deaf people who hold both a pilot's license and a commercial driver's license. The Binding of Isaac. As of now, exactly 1% of players have all 637 achievements on Steam. I'm a totally in the 0.2% of something. People who have a rather nasty reaction to the blood thinner, heparin. Lost half my toes because of how lucky I am. Guitar Hero. I was a world-ranked player back when it was more popular and won every tournament I ever attended. Edit. For people that are interested, I am XX Bandages XX on Score Arrow. I was mainly competitive in GH3. At one point, I was tied for, or held 13 first-place scores on GH3. Many of the scores have been beaten. Also, lots of people are asking about Clone Hero. I have played it, but I just don't have the drive, time, or interest to play it like I used to play GH3. I'm one of around 1% of people directly related to Sweden's great king Gustav Vasa, still living. I'm one of 100k people. This link. Typing in my PC. I can type up to 170 WPM sometimes, and in the human benchmark site that's 1%. Allergies. Got a catch? All edit. OMG, I found my people. I'm allergic to mold, dust, penicillin, sulfur drugs, ants, spiders, pesticides, hay, dust, some spices, the cold, urticaria, and raw tomatoes. And unfortunately it's quite severe. Stress just amplifies them all. I had a bad allergic reaction in May and nearly lost my life. The healthcare system was overflowing with COVID patients, so they took a while to process my case and nearly lost my pulse even after the adrenaline shot. Then a day later it happened again, and on the third day again. My lungs couldn't take it and I had lung failure, so I couldn't breathe without an oxygen mask for 3 weeks and very slowly recovered. I hope I make enough money someday to take care of myself and treat my medical issues on my own. I held a senior reactor operator and pilot license at the same time. I held a second-place world record for the Mushroom Gorge time trial in Mario Kart Wii for 15 minutes. Edit. Thanks for all the replies. Didn't know this would touch the hearts of many. I've been in 2 helicopter crashes and 1 plane crash. There is only a small group of people who have survived that many crashes. I'm also not a pilot. Survival. I fell 25 feet out of a window when I was about 2 years old. I've also been hit by a car that was traveling over 50 miles per hour, 80.4 kilometers per hour. I've had 2 near drownings. I was also held hostage at gunpoint for over 3 hours. All if these things happened before my 14th birthday. Mirror writing. Writing the same exact thing with my left hand, except backwards and to the left, while I write it normally and with my right hand. I can make my eyes shake, voluntary nystagmus, and I can wiggle my ears. It was a lot more impressive when I was 7. I had pancreatic cancer last year. Out of 10,000 patients they normally find 100 who have another form of this cancer who kill a little slower, like in 2 years instead of months. I was one of the 100. Out of those, normally 15 can have surgery. I was one of them. Out of those 15, some die and some come back to basically normal life. That's about a 0.07% chance in all. I am still one of them. I should be dead by now. Walking. I have cerebral palsy and it was not known whether I would talk, walk, or do anything. Now, I'm getting a degree, have a job, and I am a full-fledged adult. I'm sure I'm in the 1% of wedding attendance. I started as a wedding DJ when I was 18. For several years, I was doing 40 to 50 weddings a year. I ended up doing DJ, photo, and video at my business in Vegas. For several years, I was a part of at least 250 weddings a year. Sometimes 2 to 3 a day. My record was 7 ceremonies in one day, the 11th of November 11. I retired from weddings at 44 years old, so 26 years in total. I estimate I have worked at well over 2,000 wedding ceremonies, probably closer to 2500, 2600. Interestingly, I've only been a participant in 2 weddings, mine as the groom and my best friend as best man. Being 6 feet 1 as a woman. The weather up here is 39 degrees Fahrenheit with a light breeze. Being deaf. Only 0.22%, roughly 600k people, across all age groups in the US are deaf. More than half are over the age of 65. I've been profoundly deaf since birth, so I'm in an even smaller percent than 0.22%. LMAO, source, this link. Performing musicians who can play the complete well-tempered clavier, books 1 and 2. The well-tempered clavier is 2 sets of preludes and fugues in all 24 major and minor keys for keyboard by J.S. Bach, BWV 846-893. According to my step counter, walking. Not even kidding, I manage a warehouse and walk 10 to 15 miles a day at work. Apparently this is more than 99.3% of users. Turns out the one thing I'm exceptional at is the one thing almost everyone can do. Yay. Only 2% of pregnant women experience 2 miscarriages in a row. Only 1% of women experience 3 miscarriages in a row. I have had 5 miscarriages in a row and I fully hate any type of statistics now. Statistics used to make me feel safe. Now I just know how easy it is to be on the wrong side of them. Edit. Thank you for sharing your support and your stories. I feel for so many of you that also make up the 1%, or less than 1% I guess. Sending all the love and healing your way if you're in this same sucky boat as me. I suffer from a relatively harmless phenomenon called aphantasia. I am incapable of conjuring images inside my head. I know what object or thing I'm supposed to think about, but all I see is nothing. When I dream, I know what's happening and what I'm supposed to see, but it's just a whole lot of nothingness. I guess you could say I'm blind in my mind. Apparently around 1% of the population suffer from this weird condition. Must be nice having a screen in your head that shows anything you can imagine. Skeptical smiley face. Eyesight. I have 20/10 vision, turns out only about 1% of people have better than normal 20/20 vision. My actual name. My last name is one of the rarest in the country and I am the only person with my name out of the entire population. Having a famous parent. He's famous in another country which allows me to live a normal life. Second generation deaf and black dude, probably less than 0.5%, supporting both black and deaf mommy and daddy is pretty hard. Birth control. 99% effective right. I'm living proof of the 1% XD. It's cool though, my parents never acted like they didn't want me. I fall asleep in 5 to 10 minutes after my head hits the pillow. Mostly around the 5-minute mark. Long time ago, when the Wii was the newest console, there was a free downloadable game there, which was Crystal Defenders, a tower defense game inspired by Final Fantasy. Once you finished the campaign, you could compete in the high score for some of the last level. I placed as high as number 17 worldwide. And no other Canadian was above me. Still proud of that one, lol. Edit for the curious, I played the game for about a year. From what I remember, the high score were reset every month. I regularly placed it around number 25, and I distinctly remember that the top 10 was 90% Japanese and the occasional Americans. I kinda want to get back into it now lol. As a Lithuanian, I belong to a nationality that makes up 0.03% of the world population. Tenor voices. I'm a professional opera singer, and have also performed in a rock band, a state champion collegiate a cappella group, have been on international television as a soloist, was paid to sing High Mass at St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican in front of the cardinals, and was just on stage with Sir Mix-a-Lot. Edit, top 1% of tenor voices. Tenors are not the 1% of singers, lol. We're less common than some other voice types, but not that rare. Mine's pretty go-dorful. I have 2 uteruses. Edit, lot of people asking why I put up with it till I was around 33. I didn't know. Because doctors don't listen to women complaining of menstrual issues, is why. The endless pain and bleeding. Suck it up, take 3 Advil not 2, holla. Starting at age 12, till I lucked into a rare empathetic gynecologist who, since I'd always known I was uninterested in parenting, offered me a minimally invasive, just removes the top of the uterus, the rest of me stayed there, hysterectomy to stop the pain and hemorrhaging. And in doing the surgery, he discovered what no other doctor had cared enough to find. I love that guy. NB. In the States, it is rare and usually extraordinarily difficult for a young woman who has not born children to get a voluntary hysterectomy. Criminal. I gotta be in the top 1% of hairiest bitches in North America, especially if we're looking at Caucasian women only. I am left-handed, have red hair and blue eyes. I do not know if that makes me 1%, but it has to be pretty close. I'm in the 1% of thickest Boston accents in America, thanks to growing up in Boston. I can throw a 16-pound shot put over 20 meters or 66 feet 8 inches. Not a ton of real-world applications except when asked what you were in the top 1% of skeptical smiley face. Edit, I've never gotten so many awards. Redditors, you all really made my day when I needed it smiley face. Degrees. I have a BA, MA, JD and 2 PhDs. If I'm not mistaken, less than 1% of the world has that many, and neither should I. Chefs. I have earned a Michelin star. Ghost Recon Wildlands top 1% of players with the most kills according to the Ubisoft app. Rubik's Cube solving. I'm not particularly fast compared to the fastest folks, but I'm sub 30 seconds every time. Old fingers and neurons don't fire as fast as them little kids. I can say the alphabet backwards just as quickly as I can say it forwards. I have a rare type of brain tumor, it's benign, we pretend it doesn't exist. All good, and I don't use my phone on the toilet. Infertile people. The people who can't have children after a year of trying, for whom no treatment works, have no diagnosis to explain why, and end up the 1% of the 1% and move on to surrogacy, gestational carrier. Catching falling objects. It's my useless superpower. People who need to sneeze when they are in the sun. What a superpower lol. I have triplets, I am in the 0.1% of people. People who haven't watched Game of Thrones. Improbably in the 1% of surviving multiple severe opioid overdoses without brain damage. I survived 6 different opioid, primarily fentanyl analogs, overdoses, 2 of which I completely stopped breathing for several minutes, and out of those 2 overdoses, my heart stopped beating during one. And it stopped for a little over a minute. Further, my now wife and I got clean at the same time once we finally hit our lowest point and were about to become homeless. And I got clean by sitting at my parents' house and not going to detox, rehab or getting on buprenorphine or methadone. I should be really super duper dead, but instead we got clean, we got married, and I work for myself as a carpenter, woodworker as my wife finishes college. So I suppose I'm in the 1% of hardcore opioid addicts getting and staying clean after nearly dying multiple times from overdoses. Yay me. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing and liking. Any feedback in the comments would be greatly appreciated so that we can make these videos even better. Thanks for watching Upvote Stories.